All right, everyone. It is episode time, interview time with repeat guest Orpheus Black. Is this the second, third, fourth time you've been here? And I know it's not the second, actually. Third or fourth? Third?
It's like the third time. Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
So your first time on our show was a similar topic, but from the more dominant perspective. So it was about how to be more dominant in the bedroom. And it's in our top 15 episodes out of, what are we at? Like 300 now?
Almost
Chip?
300,
yeah.
I believe.
Right.
Yes. People really wanted to hear that. They loved everything you shared. You're a phenomenal public speaker, educator. So we love having you back. And so this time
he's an expert. He testifies in court.
I know. Yeah, exactly. Actually, yeah, totally. That's definitely a very special skills that came up on my radar recently because my partner's a criminal defense attorney and they were like, so who do I call when I have questions about I was Orpheus Black. But anyways, yeah, that's so this topic, not about that. This one is about kind of more like the submissive's role or submission and how to maybe own that role more, or if you're playing with someone who's submissive. So some tips and tricks and then beyond that, it sounds like tips and tricks sounds a little more like superficial because you always have a tendency to really dive deep into these
rules and regulations. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kind of about the rules and regulations as a dominant. I got to be honest. That's me. I'm all about the structure.
Yes, the structure, boundaries, and also the playfulness too, and the scene and all these different parts that come into play. So before we dive into that, can you tell our listeners, even though you've done this on our show multiple times, how you got to where you are today in the field of sexuality, both as a professional and in maybe your personal life as well? I don't know.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. The way I got into this is I was poly for at least 5 years, raising 3 kids in a poly dynamic with 2 other women. And one of the women stepped away and left us for a dom. And I had no idea at the time what a dominant dom, which is abbreviation, was. I thought it was a guy named Dominic or Dimitri or something like that. I was looking through my neighborhood, just cruising, looking for a fight to have with anyone named Dom. What I found out after she got back is she was into kink, S&M, fetish, and was looking for a dominant partner who was capable of leading her in a very specific way. And so she wanted to introduce me to this lifestyle because she felt I had it in me. She took me to a goth industrial club. Now, as a Black guy, going to a goth club, not necessarily that, it's not ringing any bells for me. I mean? It's like not what I want to do. I had no idea what goth was either, to show you how sheltered that was. But I stepped through, they pulled back the heavy black curtains, opened it up, and I swear the whole place stopped because a Black guy was in there. And once everything came back to kind of normal, I saw a guy standing probably about 7 to 8 feet up in the air on a woman's throat who was suspended in this cubicle crucifix. And I remember very distinctly saying to myself, yeah, I can do that. You know what I mean? I was not weirded out by anything that happened that night at all. And lo and behold, the same person approached me and said, hey, do you want to learn how to do this? And I said yes, and I never went back. And from there, it took me into doing adult movies. It took me into making floggers and other fetish apparel, designing clothes and fetish items for different TV shows like America's Best Dance Crew or True Blood. I've also done sex work in this. I mean, I've pretty much done everything that you can possibly think of, including being a leather title holder 3 times. I don't know. You name it, I've done it in the world of sex. But it all came through that one moment where I saw one person exploring his sexuality, exploring another person's body in a way that was atypical.
I just, about goth, because we've talked about this in past podcasts. Did you say that this was a goth dungeon or it's just a goth club and sex was happening there?
Goth club. And part of the attraction, it was called Club Dungeon, right? That was the name of the club. And so the theme was dungeon. So they had people doing thematic, not reenactments because they were real scenes, but thematic play.
Didn't you say you showed up in a jogger suit of some sort and you were like, hey, what's up? I'm not goth, but I'm down.
Exactly. I mean, I was hip hop at the time. I had the Crush, pretty much the same color, like the Crush velour powdered sweatsuit. You know what I mean? And the guy that bounced me was like, this ain't hip hop night. I had to convince him that I knew what was going on before he would let me in, And finally, he let me in. And I'm telling you, at the time, Club Dungeon was the epitome of goth industrial club, but also the kind of epicenter of what kink is now. We were formulating and really playing with what you see, because what you see in kink now, what you see in fetish movies, we were doing and inventing in that club. And it got exported all around the world because, as you know, Canoga Park was Porn Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes,
Everybody
yes.
from Hollywood, those clubs became porn stars. They started doing, kink.com and Dungeon Core and all these other things. And so what we were doing in that club in Hollywood became standard, the norm, right? And it really, we were pushing the boundaries of human desire, human sexuality, interaction, right? And so from there, it was a short hop over into, from porn or anything into mainstream, because the mainstream wanted that. They wanted the sensationalism, but they wanted the real, because you know what fake looks like.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see real representations of their desires.
Yeah. Well, I lived near Canoga Park. This is why I have a little bit of research. I lived in North Hollywood, and Venice was where a lot of the porn came out of in the 2000s, in the early 2000s, in the 90s. So I have a deep respect for that. It's Hollywood, and it's historical in so many ways. And you have shaped this industry so much, especially in terms of when we're talking about dominance and submission. And when we've recorded with you in the past, I have really dropped in and listen to how you speak and what you have to say. And I've actually taken that outside of our recordings. When people ask me about my favorite episodes, you come up because of the way you present and the way that you speak to people. It's very digestive, even when you don't think that you're into BDSM. You don't know, I'm not kinky enough, right? Which is how I always felt about myself. I just thought I was some like Midwestern chick that would never do dominance and submission until I listened to that Rihanna song that came out about SSS. Remember that song? I was like, oh, I could get down with that. And then
Nikki Nefarious did the video. It was Nikki Nefarious, my friend. She tied everybody up in that video.
Fuck yes.
See, someone's got to do the tying, and it's professionals. There you go.
Exactly. It's all about safety, which brings me on the episode when we spoke with you about dominance. You gave so many incredible things. I've actually listened to that episode 2 times, Orpheus. So thank you for that. Now we're speaking to submission. And this can apply to even folks out there that believe they're in the more dominant sense, or if you feel their submission, it can always change, and you'll talk more about that. But that show was, as Amy mentioned, in our top 15. So let's talk about the submissive one. What does being a sub mean, and how does it show up in sex?
Submission is a very long and arduous thing. It's ethereal. It's not something that you can pin down. It's not something you do, like service. It's not about being a servant. These are all different things. The easiest way to kind of fathom submission is to think about surrender, the cessation of resistance, not resisting, allowing. Now, people were thinking, well, what am I allowing? Am I allowing my partner to do whatever they want to do with me? Or am I just giving myself over with, blind obedience? No, the idea of surrender is giving yourself over to that which you desire most. What do you want to experience? What do you want to feel? Right? Giving yourself over without resisting it. Why do I want to do that? Why do I want to feel that way? Oh, I'm bad. Really, what we do is to say, how about trying this experiential narrative, experiencing, over intellectualizing it? You don't have to think about it. You don't have to accept it. You don't have to know why. Don't make meaning out of it. Just feel into it. It's almost like a meditation. It's just having the experience. Nobody can tell you what chocolate tastes like if you've never had it. You have to experience it. No one can tell you what water tastes like on your tongue. You have to experience it. No one can describe it. They're indescribable. Most of what we do defies rationale.
Can
So
you
you
read
have to-
bedtime stories too? Because I love the soothing nature of your voice. When you said meditation, before you said that, I was like, dropping in. I was like, oh. And then I pictured you reading a story about something that would just
about submission,
about
dominance.
submission.
Well,
and,
as you fall asleep.
and then he gently spanked.
Ooh. Let's do that. So maybe tonight you can get on the phone with April and talk her to sleep.
I would love
You
that.
said you've done have you done that yet? You've done everything in the industry, right? Have you? Okay.
I've actually done phone sex.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, then
I've done phone sex. I've driven escorts.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like I've done the whole thing. I'm telling you, there's almost no part of without being like in the gay, being anything gay, as far as that goes. I haven't done anything really in that with like gay prostitution or anything like that. But if it's cis hetero, I've pretty much done it.
yeah. You've gone down
You know
those, that road, the alley. Mm-hmm.
But you teach other penis owners, though. You just don't have interactions or experiences with other penis owners. But I
don't get penetrated by penis owners.
Got it.
And I don't penetrate penis owners. But I do play with penis owners. I'm an equal opportunity flogger. I will flog, beat, spank, tie anybody. And literally, I mean the physical body. And this is what's really important, because we have to remember that surrender and submission, and the difference between the two is surrender is something you do once. Submission is a perpetual state of being.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not like if an army shows up at your encampment, you surrender once and it's all over. Submission is a viable lifestyle choice. You're choosing to not resist on a daily basis. You're saying yes to your desires. You're saying yes to your wants. You're saying yes to your needs. And you say, well, my partner wants me to surrender. Is your partner who you want to surrender to? If so, then it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If they want to do what you want to do and you want to surrender to it, that's great. But it's really about your desires and where you're coming from, right? You surrender to yourself. You surrender to a moment. You don't surrender to a person.
I like that. Yeah. That makes sense. I think we talked about this with the episode with you about how to be more dominant. And we just had Dr. Lori Beth Bisbee on the show. And we were talking about how for some folks who are asking their partner to be more dominant, and then the person they're asking to be dominant, it's like, I don't have that in me. I don't want to be the creepy person or rapey person or, too much. And I think we've talked about that in the past. And so my question for you is, if we generalize, or maybe not generalize, but have an understanding like why someone might want to be submissive, or why this might be in them, and maybe not why this is in them, but more so like, what's the driving force that you often see, the driving force is? We hear of the CEO of some big corporation who just wants to be whipped and spanked in the bedroom so they can finally let go and release. Because
what's that movie with J-Lo, the Hustle? Remember that movie?
Or the guy in Billions?
And the guy in Billions? Yes, the DA, the Attorney General?
Yeah. Who wants someone to like literally burn him and like, beat him in the testicles sometimes. And like, this is such a generalization, but so I guess the question more about that piece there, I'm going to combine them together a little bit. Like, not everyone's designed to be a sub, right? And not everyone's designed to be a dom, meaning like it doesn't run deeply in their veins. Like for me, if someone's like, hey, could you be like my dom? I'd be like, I identify more on the sub side. Maybe I can play in the middle. But like, what are your thoughts on that for like a partner, maybe asking their partner to be more submissive when they're like, I don't know if that's me?
Well, here's the thing that I'm going to say. I mean, there's lots of yeses and there's no, because it's a very nuanced conversation. But let's say this. The problem that we've experienced with whether you're dominant or sub doesn't matter, because we are both. Just like you're both masculine and feminine, you're both dominant and sub. It's just whether someone evokes that in you, right? Whether someone awakens that desire in you to be more dominant, to be more forceful. I get clients all the time. It's like, well, with my wife, I don't feel dominant, but with the woman I cheated on, it was just natural. It just came out, right? Because the dynamic was there. Okay, so this is very important, because what oftentimes happens is a partner will try and provoke a very specific behavior. They'll be like, man up? Why can't you be more masculine? Or why can't you be more submissive? They're provoking. What I want people to do is to cultivate a way of being that evokes, awakens, elicits a response that is in line with your desire, right? That really speaks to who you are on the inside. The way that I like to do it is lamp. Language. Are you using the language that elicits this behavior? Right? Action. What are you doing that would awaken or evoke something in your partner? Right? Mannerisms or motivations. How are you carrying yourself that makes a person feel like that? Right? And then packaging. How are you putting it together that really makes a person drop in? What you want to do is occupy that space. I am submissive. I am this for yourself. Let this come from a really natural place, and they have no other choice but to really become the compendium to you, the polarity of you, right? And so if you kneel and and take off their shoes, if you crawl over to them, right? How are they going to respond to you? Ew, what are you doing? I can't believe that. That's a person who's just detached from their sexuality altogether. But if a person wants to play, right? Because this is really about framing it from the standpoint of play so that they can feel free enough, judgment free enough, right? To be able to explore that space, they will. Most people refuse to go into that space of discomfort because they're afraid of being teased, ridiculed, persecuted, or identified as something less than. So along with that, we have to make a person feel comfortable. So there's nothing wrong with using the language of service, using the language of submission. Yes, sir. Yes, daddy. Yes, whatever that harkens to the power dynamic, right? Using, mannerism, kneeling, sitting on the floor, resting your head on their lap, massaging their hands, right? Wanting to be led, show up in a collar with a leash, right? Wait for them to take the other end of it. Wait, things like that. Go ahead.
So wait, you covered LAM. Is there
the P was packaging.
LAMP, and then I was thinking Lampert.
You're laughing.
Where's the ERT? Where? Oh wait.
I thought you were thinking lamb too. Like
no, I was thinking of Lampert, my last name. I was like, wait, there's an acronym for my last. But I totally was listening to everything else. But I was like,
adorable.
Oh my god. I was like, where's the T though? Because I thought I heard the E and the R in there, and I was like, okay.
I will do it for you. I will do it for you.
Which brings us to the next piece, though. Topping from the bottom. Good job. High five to you, Lampert, over here. So there's the term topping from the bottom. Maybe that's the T. So what does this mean, and how does this apply to someone who might be more submissive? Like, I've said this before with a partner, like that's topping from the bottom right now. And I've also heard some people say, like, actually, topping from the bottom maybe isn't the most helpful terminology to use. But how do you feel about it? And there's April's T.
I just was thinking Orpheus was like, wait, she can't spell. Because I was like, what about the T? I was like, because you covered all the other ones in my brain because I was listening so intently. And I was like, oh no. And then I realized, yes, I had a moment where I just totally
it's perfect.
It was all about me. And I'm so sorry to the listeners out there, but that is good. Top it from the bottom. That's the T.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. We can do power, exchange, and temptation.
Okay, we missed an R, but that's fine. I'll forget.
I tried. Topping from the bottom.
You did well.
Here's a haiku that I once heard that kind of explains topping from the bottom. She wants me to love her the way she would love her if she were me. That's topping from the bottom. You want me to do to you exactly what you want me to do to you, not necessarily it be an expression of who I am in line with my sexuality. And so it's like, you're not doing it right. You're not hitting me the way, you're not doing this. You should be doing this way. You should, it's almost like nagging a person into doing it the way you would do it if you were me, but you're not me. And this is where submission comes in. It's letting go to the preconceived ideas as to how this is supposed to be performed. It's another aspect. Some people are so attached to a very specific outcome that the exploration becomes moot, right? Sometimes we have sex for the sake of sex. Sometimes it's just the fun of bodies rolling and moving through space and time. Right? It's like, if I have to have this type of orgasm, if I don't squirt at least a bucket, I'm not satisfied.
Exhausting.
Right? But coming in, filling this order, you make a sub of me. You make a servant of me, as opposed to two people just coming into a space where we can both just explore. I just want to explore your body. I just want to have fun. I just want to touch you. I just want to interact with you. right? And if orgasm is a process, a part of that process, then that's great. If the mind-blowing blah, blah, blah is a part of the process, that's great. But when you really want to be with somebody, you want them to be a partner in both the exploration of your life and also the exploration of intimacy. When you want somebody just to pop your hood and check the clutch a little bit, that's a very different interaction, right? And both have a place in relationships. But for me, letting go and experiencing, exploring can help you find places that you never knew before. Okay. So that's my just kind of thought about topping from the bottom.
So I have two questions here, and we have only a few left, and I don't ever want you to go. This isn't on our roster of questions because safety keeps coming up for me, and I wanted to speak to safety because I know that there have been times in my life of my sexual life, right, where I felt that I wanted to be dominated, but I didn't know about safety. And safety isn't as sexy to talk about, but it's so important, especially if there is submission happening. And I know that you're a very educated dom and safety, but for folks out there that want to feel submissive and maybe they don't have long-term partners, or maybe there's a lot of scenarios out there, what are some things to initiate to have safety first? Because that is so important.
First of all, thank you for asking that question about safety. It's always important. First of all, you can't do dangerous things safely. They can only be done safer. Right? So there is no foolproof way of keeping yourself safe, right? So the things that can help you be safer is selecting a safe word, right? Just putting into place some word that says, when I say red, you will do X, Y, and Z, right? That's absolutely important. And then ask them to demonstrate it. So take the person's hand, say, I'm going to, take my hands, rub the back of them. When I say strawberry or whatever the safe word is, you will do exactly what I've asked you to do, just to demonstrate that you know what I'm talking about, to help me feel more safe. Boom, they're capable of doing it. That's great. Also, making sure that you have a way of enforcing your no, right? Anytime you have a demand, you're going to protect your boundaries, but you don't have a way of enforcing it. It's not a boundary, it's a suggestion. So you should go into a situation where you're absolutely capable of, like, if I say my safe word and he doesn't, it's going to be like, motherfucker, you better get off me, or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Or you're going to call for help, or you're going to do a thing, but you have to have a way of enforcing your boundaries, or it's not a boundary, right? Now, we can say that we're all putting this on top of the submissive, but we're not really. What we're doing is you're the most vulnerable, and we have to give you ways of keeping yourself safe in those moments in the event that the person that you're with is not listening to you, right? Because you run the most risk. Now, when these things are done safely, it's transcendent, right? When you find someone that you can trust that much, where you can let go and stop taking care of yourself and allow you to be taken care of, it's a beautiful thing. Think about it from the standpoint of play. Right? Here's what I like to think. When you play with somebody, when we're a kid, guess what? We create a game, we play it, but there's always something we can say or do that the other person acknowledges is stop. Time out. Safe, the safe base, right?
Red light, green light.
Red light, green light, right? Stop.
Yeah.
We all know the code word when we get into the game, and we've all demonstrated that we're capable of doing that thing. But sometimes people don't listen to the timeout. Some people don't care that you're on the safe base. Some people will go overboard. So there's no 100% solvable things. But putting those things in there are more likely to keep you safe than not. Does that make sense? Also getting educated about what it is that you're doing so you can know when it's going wrong. Take a class. Get a mentorship. If this is really who you are, then invest in yourself. To me, people who don't take the time, create the safe spaces for themselves, right? Don't find a safe place for them to learn, are the people who are usually going to get hurt the most. Mm-hmm. They're just going to try it with some random guy from a bar and get hurt. And now they're like, oh, never do that again. But did you make the investment in yourself in creating those safe spaces? Lastly, you use a safe word like a condom. You don't wait till you get into trouble before you use it. You know what I mean? You don't wait. You know what I mean?
Word.
You use it when you feel uncomfortable or you feel like you should stop, because you can always start again.
And
Right?
listen to your first episode on dominance if you are in a dominant role, because there's a lot of education around being in that position as well. And I was just going to look it up, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I think that's also an important piece. Get educated in both contexts. You have to know what you're doing is of your best self and giving your best self so everyone is safer.
What did Layla Martin say when we had her on the show? She was like, if you're going to put something in a vagina or an orifice, then you should experience what it's like having something in your own orifice to understand what it feels like to insert something, right? So like, if you're going to have anal sex, and see what it's like having something in your own ass, and maybe not like if you're going to play a submissive role, then you have to learn about the dominant role. I think they would be helpful to understand all the approaches. Oh, April found it. What episode is it?
Listen to episode number 243 with Orpheus, how to be more dominant in the bedroom. For penis owners, however, no matter what genitals you're rocking, you can still benefit from this if you want to be a power dom, meaning you are doing it just as well as you could and keeping everyone in a really safe and conscious space. But I liked what you said about speaking to, there's always practices that could feel unsafe. Everyone needs to know what they're doing. Get training from Orpheus, everybody.
And talk about it beforehand, right? Don't just like dive on in. And I mean, I've had experiences.
And try to be sober. Try to be sober.
Yeah.
Because everybody gets that cup of courage in them and then wants to start getting choked. Right. And then I'm showing up at your court case, you know what I mean? Trying to testify. You know what I mean? Please be sober. Most people are drinking because this is who they are. And this is the only way that they can experience an aspect of their self that they're longing for. It's really coming up in their body. Right? They really want to have this experience. So for me, you have to say, let me just take ownership of this desire. Let me find a safe space to explore it, right? And get as much knowledge and information about the thing as I can, and then engage in the behavior. Don't just get drunk because this excuse to do your thing, or get high, or do these types of things, because you will get hurt. Remember, we are dealing with power. Unlike other, aspects of like sex, we are specifically dealing with a power dynamic. And just like you don't want to just open up a power outlet without knowing how to do it, because you'll get hurt, you don't want to just open up this type of play, right? And explore this thing, because you may get hurt. Mm-hmm. So before you start playing with power, submission, dominance, master, slave, top, bottom, go into it and find out what's really there. Learn what you need to learn before you get in it. And then it is a beautiful thing, right? Also for men, I want to say that this is not, submission is something that's universal. To me, the difference between a dominant and a master is really that a master understands how submission plays into it. Because I have to access my submission in order to be a master, in order to receive from my subs, in order to receive pleasure, in order to just sit back and allow someone to do something to me, for me, around me, near me. To submit to not having societal pressure stop me from engaging in a type of behavior that brings me joy, right? And not let the trauma resurface, right? Not to go into my head or retreat, right? Or just to cop into those damn male patriarchal standards that says what a guy is supposed to be. Let go. Half of submission is letting go. The other half is not holding on, right? Let go of the things that are holding you back. They're keeping you from enjoying that. Stop holding on to those feelings that are coming up. Just be in the moment.
When it comes to initiation of sex, a lot of folks think that if you're a sub, you may not have the power, or whatever you want to call it, to initiate sex. In your experience, how can submissive people out there do this while staying in this submissive role? Is it possible? Of course it is. But if this is an option, what do you suggest for those submissive folks out there?
Yeah, like you're letting go and you're not resisting, but you're initiating at the same time.
Yeah.
I like to look at it like from a Buddhist standpoint. There's a difference between doing and being, right? Dominance will do to you, do the spanking, do the flogging, do the stuff. Submission is more about being the thing that drives them crazy, being the thing that turns them on, being in the space of reception, being in this willing mode, being in the right outfit, being, what I mean? That you come home and you're wearing the thing that they like most, not the thing that turns you on or makes you feel sexy, being in the thing that your partner likes. will get you in that space. And that's a type of submissive way of doing it. Personally, I like the long shirt, panties, some socks. Oh my God, that turns me on. You
socks?
know how often
really?
I get
socks?
that?
Like
socks.
what kind of socks? Are we talking about?
The calf high socks.
Oh.
Like, are you talking about like Walmart white socks? I hate those things, but I respect this. Do you like those? Are you talking about like socks with funny things on them?
Sometimes, I mean, I like socks, period. But you know, if I'm talking about this specific fantasy, the man, you know, one of my long button-up white shirts, white panties, white socks, calf high,
and you're like,
that's hot to me.
Hot.
But what other people think, but what often happens is a person will wear what they think is sexy and what turns them on. But I'm not them. Right. And that works in the beginning. But in order to be a good lover, you have to know the thing that you're loving. Just like you have to be a good hunter, you have to know the thing you're hunting.
What I have a question. What's it? Is it called the wet look? So I went on I think that's what it's called.
Oh, the wet t-shirt thing?
Yes. I went on a date with someone years ago who their ultimate turn on was just any sort of, particularly a white t-shirt, but like any sort of this basic t-shirt. It's not naked, it's not lingerie, and in fact it's like something that like really gets their motor going. And like you have to be and if you're wearing a bathing suit it wouldn't apply, but like
it's like a Hanes white t-shirt,
jeans, and you got water splashed on you, and holy shit. And we never really explored that. Is it called wet look? Is that what that?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, wet look. Yeah. I mean, it's just we all have our different things. Like for April, the calf high socks.
Because my brother used to have them dirty all over the house when I was little, and that's all I can think about. I'm like, oh my God, the dirty white socks that we would buy for him.
Someone
that's all
else
I can think about.
might turn that into a turn
Totally.
on, though.
I'm not doing that at all. And Orpheus, respect, because I might have a new respect for white socks now. The Hanes socks, or I don't know what brand's making them, but I will leave this behind in my past. And thank you for sharing that, because when I was envisioning your fantasy for you, I was picturing some fun like socks with avocados on them or something that's like, come fuck me now.
Yeah.
You have to think most of our what we view as turn on is, first of all, Hollywood does it better than anyone else. What they do is they prime the pump for most young male libido. So, you know, when we see the love interest or the sexy person, think how many people you've seen in a sweater, panties, and like some kind of curled up reading a book, right? That is the big thing. It's like, oh, I've never seen that in real life. Right? Like I've never come home to that. Right? You see the guy the girl in the shirt, the men's shirt, because she woke up and now she's cooking breakfast or something, and her butt peeking out the back. Ooh. That's hot, but I've never seen that. You know what I mean? What I get is someone wearing lingerie, and I really don't like lingerie. Like, it's not my thing. Right. So I think that there's many men who go, yeah, I'm glad you like that. And it's cute. That's great. I'm glad you're turned on by it. But what about me? You know, what about my turn on? Nobody ever asks. And so for me as a lover, often what I try and do is keep a notepad. Every time something turns her on or something I do she likes, I write it down so that I can separate my desire from her desire.
Smart.
Right. So that when it's time to turn that person on, I can go, you know, oh, she likes when I wear the flannel or the one with the arms where my arms are really showing, or, you know, where my chest, you know, something like that. Or she likes when I do this, or I keep all those different lists I'm poly. I've got a bunch of different lists for a bunch of different partners. Right. But I find that women who are, you know, people who are raised female at birth are not trained to be good lovers. They're trained to be that which is desired, and that they're supposed to be desired.
But you're not saying that penis owners are trained to be good lovers too, though, because I don't think they're trained to be good lovers. Okay, good. Just to clarify. Okay.
I'm saying that I think that men actually try to be geared towards, like, you're supposed to be the seducer. You're supposed to be a thing that wants, and they're supposed to be a thing that is wanted, right? But what it gets morphed into is, well, they like anything. But I think when we go desire, what's the thing that is desired and the thing that desires, when we become this thing, we limit ourselves, right? Both people have to be the seducer. Both people have to be the lover archetype. Both people have to be the thing that is wanted. Both people have to be the thing that is desired. We both have to play both roles. We both have to want and want to be wanted, right? And we both have to make those investments. And so when you're in your submission, you are giving yourself over to what, you know, to their desires. What do they like? What is their favorite food? What turns them on? What is their favorite? How do they like to see me? How is my hair in line with their desires? Right? And then that way you don't have to, and that's a type of silent initiation. I'm initiating silently. And I'm not saying it has to be that, but if you want to take a submissive way where you're not actively like, hey, I'm ready.
Let's fuck.
Exactly. Let's fuck. Also, for men who are in submission, it's really difficult too, right? Because there are male submissives and they want to be acted on. And they don't know how to go from that submissive place as a male in the male body, right? As a penis owner, and how to just want to be taken. Right? And so in the same way, they have to do the same thing. They have to say, what does my partner like? What turns him on? What makes him go crazy? Right? That he just want to do this thing. Sometimes my wife will see something and she'll look me dead in the eye and push it onto the floor. It makes me nuts. Like,
what do you mean? Like, can you give me an example? Like a tangible thing? Like a plate?
Yeah, like it'll be like a cup just sitting there and she'll look me dead in the eye like a cat.
That's something I would do. Oh my God. That's the brat though, right?
That's fucking awesome.
So I was going to ask you then, so I'm hearing two pieces here. One is like really uncover your partner or partners and, you know, pay attention and make the list so that you can meet them and not just think of what makes you feel sexy, think of what makes them feel sexy, and educate yourself, which is why we'll bring this into how they can go and work with you or work with people like you.
Love
so
that.
They can get more of the education. But I was thinking of myself as someone when I was, 21 when I met April, and the relationship I was in, and I didn't know I was identified as submissive. So I would say to my partner, I want you to make me feel small. I'm a little over 5'9". And that's what it felt like to me. I was uneducated though. I didn't know yet. And then in my later 20s, I started to understand more about that it was more submissive and could ask for more. Now I can initiate as a sub by knowing that my partner just likes seeing someone topless in jeans. And all I have to do is walk in the room with topless in jeans and give them, a little batting eye. And they're like, oh, fuck. I don't have to say anything, but I had to take years of educating, owning, learning all these different definitions for myself. And then how can I express that and explore that? So you can totally easily initiate as a submissive person by barely doing a thing. Or like me with, my partner's like, hey, I want you to, make this thing for me. And I'm like, no, and then I could do something that's kind of like a sexy no or something, I can play into that role because I definitely tap more into the brat piece. So for people who want to learn more about this, like April talked about going back to past episodes, but they want to work with you. They want to dive into your workshops. I know you have a lot of things coming up, and I don't know, we were talking about maybe some collaborations at some point in the future. I don't know. How can they do that to dive deeper in?
Yeah, you can go to orpheusblack.com, and we have an event coming up on a virtual event, a Zoom event. Actually, it's a hybrid event where people can actually come to a dungeon and sit in the audience. If you're in California or you're willing to fly here, or you can do it on Zoom. They'll be going on the same time, and it's going to be energy exchange and kink. And basically, we're going to talk about how to play energetically through submission, through dominance. We're going to have to talk about, spirituality, or what I like to call the three sisters: spirituality, sexuality, and surrender. Right? Those are three things that really energies are pooling in that room at that time. So we're going to be going over all that. And we're going to talk about flogging, and we're going to talk about the energetics of flogging. We're going to talk about bondage and meditation. Right, where we're doing binding rituals and partner stretching and exploring the sensualness of tying the body. We're going to talk about bringing spirituality into your sexuality. We're going to go over all that. And it's going to be a 3-day extravaganza. So it's going to be wonderful. So you guys can go Shameless1, and we'll give you a code so that you guys can get a nice discount off. And we'd love to have your audience because they're always so great.
And where are you located if they did want to fly? Where is the event being held?
It's going to be in Los Angeles.
Okay.
In Los Angeles near LAX.
Okay. And what were the dates again?
I don't have the dates with me, but you can go on orpheusblack.com.
Go
hit
check
the
it out
button and see exactly what it is. And we're actually looking at whether, depending on how many people show up, it'll be determined how big the dungeon is and which dungeon we use. But we're going to bring you into a full dungeon space, St. Andrew's crosses, spanking benches, maybe even some dominatrixes or something. We're going to do a full experience for the people who show up. And for the people who are online, they'll get a chance to see some of the things. They'll get to be a part of the class, but they won't get the benefit of all the extras that will be there.
That's awesome because this is a safe place for folks if they want to learn about either of dominant, submission. Maybe you're both, maybe you're all of them, maybe you're one day and then another and the next day.
Switch it.
Yeah, that's exactly. You switch it up. You can go and see Orpheus in LA and all of these other folks, or just tune in on the Zoom. And we'll have the link in our show description. Once they solidify the dates, we'll have them for you. Orpheus, wow, we love you so much, I have to say. And I'm going to write the people at all of the apps that I listen to for the soundscapes and let them know that you need to start reading some of the bedtime stories, because I feel like your voice is so soothing and I just absolutely love it. And that is so powerful. And your words of wisdom really ring true for me, and I hope for all of you out there. So we will see you again, Orpheus, of course, because you're so fantastic. And
thank you so much. One last thing. You can also go on Amazon and get my book.
Wait, what's it? Please tell us about your book.
Orpheus Black is called The Philosophy of Submission, which is a great one for this one, right? And it's an ebook. And you can download it onto a Kindle or to your cell phone. And again, it really helps people understand and explore who they are as a submissive or in a space of submission, and really how to cultivate that in a healthy way. So, it's a really good, easy read. And, again, you can go to Amazon.com, put in Orpheus, ENSO, and the book should come up for you. And if you want a hard copy, you can go on my page and we will print one for you, print on demand.
Wow, that's so dominant of you.
Demand.
Yes, I will, sir. Oh, yes, I will.
We'll send you one.
Oh, thank you. I will take one just because you told me to. All right, y'all. Thank you so much to every one of our Shameless Sex listeners, whether you're a sub or a dom or all the things in between. We love you so much, and we cannot wait to see you for another episode of Shameless Sex. If you haven't done so already, I'm going to be the dom right now and tell you what to do. Go ahead. Give us 5 stars on iTunes.
And Spotify.
And, Spotify now takes ratings?
Yep.
Oh, see, I was in a bubble the last week because I did not know that. And Spotify, all that does is help folks out there find people like Orpheus who are changing the face of everything that has to do in and outside of the bedroom, and for the better and the greater good. So go ahead, give us 5 stars. You don't have to write some in-depth thing. If you do, we will read every single one. If you want to do a couple of emojis, we appreciate that too. All right, y'all, we will see you next Tuesday. Ciao for now.